The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning in March. I was having my coffee, 6:30, same as always. Kitchen window, watching the sunrise through the oak tree in my backyard, the tree I planted when my daughter Sarah was born 42 years ago. The envelope was thick. Official. Return address, First National Bank. I opened it standing at the counter, my reading glasses on the chain around my neck. Notice of default and acceleration, property address 247 Oakmont Drive. That wasn't my address. My house was 1834 Maple Street. I'd lived here 32 years. I kept reading. Cosigner, Linda Morrison. My name, my social security number. Amount in default, $7,500. Payments missed, 5. My hands started shaking. The paper made a sound, rattling. I sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd signed those co-signing papers 3 years ago. Sarah sitting across from me, her face hopeful. Just this once, Mom. Just to help me qualify. I promise I'll never ask again. The letter had more pages. Legal language, words I didn't understand. But one sentence was clear. Failure to cure default within 30 days will result in foreclosure proceedings. Co-signer's assets may be pursued to satisfy debt. I read it again. Then a third time. Co-signer's assets, my house. I looked around my kitchen, the house I'd bought with my husband Jack in 1993, the house where I raised Sarah and her brother David, the house where Jack died 8 years ago, heart attack, right there in the living room. This house was mine, paid off, free and clear, wasn't it? I picked up my phone, dialed the number on the letter, automated menu. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that. I pressed 0 3 times before a person answered. First National Bank. This is Michael speaking. How can I help you? I received a letter, I said. My voice sounded strange, thin. About a default, but I don't understand. I've never missed a payment on my house. Can I have your account number? I read it from the letter. Typing sounds. A pause. Ms. Morrison? Yes, I see the account. This is regarding the mortgage at 247 Oakmont Drive. You're listed as co-signer. The primary borrower has missed 5 consecutive payments. The account is now in default. But that's not my house. That's my daughter's house. Yes, ma'am. You co-signed the loan in 2022, which means you're equally responsible for the debt. If the primary borrower doesn't pay, we can pursue your assets. My assets? What does that mean? It means we can seek payment from you, including foreclosure on any property you own. The kitchen got very quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming, the clock ticking on the wall. My daughter said she'd handle the payments. I understand, ma'am, but according to our records, no payments have been made since November. It's now March. We've sent multiple notices to the property address, and now to you as cosigner. I looked at the calendar on my refrigerator. March 15th, 5 months. She'd been defaulting for 5 months. What do I do? You can make the payment to cure the default, $7,500, or you can work with the primary borrower to resolve this. I can also provide you with information about our loss mitigation department. I hung up, set the phone down on the table, next to the letter. On the wall across from me, there were photos, framed. Sarah at age 5, gap-toothed smile, holding a dandelion. Sarah at high school graduation. Sarah's wedding. Sarah with her kids, my grandchildren, Emily and Jake. I'd co-signed so she could buy that house, so Emily and Jake could have a yard, a good school district, stability. Now the bank was saying if she didn't pay, they'd take my house. The house I'd owned for 32 years, the house I planned to leave to my kids, my security, my independence. I picked up my phone again, called Sarah. It went to voicemail. Sarah, it's Mom. I need you to call me. It's urgent. About the house. I sat there, coffee cold in my cup, letter in front of me, photos on the wall. How did helping my daughter buy a house mean I might lose mine? I spent the rest of that morning trying to make sense of the letter. My name is Linda Morrison. I'm 68 years old. I taught second grade for 32 years. Retired 6 years ago. My husband Jack died 8 years back. Heart attack. He was 62. After he died, I stayed in this house. The house we bought together. 1,500 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a backyard with a garden. It's not fancy, but it's mine. Paid off, or at least I thought it was. Sarah is my daughter. 42, divorced, 2 kids. Emily's 19 now, community college. Jake's 16, high school. Sarah's had a rough time. Her divorce 5 years ago was brutal. Her ex-husband had an affair. She caught them in her own bed. That kind of betrayal changes a person. She fell apart after that, depression. Therapy twice a week for 2 years. I helped pay for it. $12,000 in therapy bills. Insurance didn't cover much. But I saw my daughter suffering. What else could I do? Being a single mom isn't easy. I know. I was one for a while after Jack died. 2 kids. Bills. Jake has ADHD. The medication costs $400 a month when insurance doesn't cover it. And Sarah's ex, he's supposed to pay child support, but he's unreliable. Some months he pays, some months he doesn't. Sarah's a marketer, good at her job, but she's had 3 different positions in 5 years. Startups that didn't work out, layoffs. The instability makes everything harder. I understood her struggles. I wanted to help. Let me tell you what I gave her over the years. $15,000 for her wedding. That was 2005. I dipped into my retirement savings. But she was my daughter, getting married. $22,000 for her divorce lawyer. 2015. She couldn't afford a good attorney. I didn't want her ex to take advantage. $8,000 for a car down payment. 2018. Her old car died. She needed reliable transportation for the kids. Countless smaller loans. $1,000 here, $500 there. Gas money, groceries, electric bills. She always said she'd pay me back. She never did, and 3 years ago she asked me to co-sign her mortgage. $285,000, the biggest ask yet. I wasn't keeping score, but if I added it up, over $330,000 in 17 years. I thought I was helping her build stability, teaching her she could count on family. I never thought she'd use it against me. The co-signing happened on a Saturday afternoon, June 2022. Sarah came over. She had printouts, a house listing, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a yard. Good school district for Jake. "Mom, I found the perfect house," she said, "but I can't qualify a loan. My credit's not good enough. The divorce messed everything up. I just need you to co-sign. I'll make all the payments, I promise. You won't have to do anything." I hesitated. "Sarah, that's a big responsibility." "I know, but Mom, this is my chance. Emily and Jake need stability, a yard, their own rooms. I can afford the payments. I have a good job now. I just need help qualifying." I should have said no, but she was my daughter, and I wanted her to have that stability, that security. We went to the bank the following Tuesday. A lawyer was there. He went through the paperwork, all the legal language. "Ms. Morrison, do you understand that co-signing means you're equally responsible for this debt? If the primary borrower doesn't pay, the lender can come after you." I nodded. "I understand. Your assets can be at risk, including your home." I looked at Sarah. She was sitting next to me, hopeful, almost desperate. "She'll make the payments," I said. "Right, Sarah?" "Of course, Mom, I promise." I signed, right there at the kitchen table of that law office. Didn't even look like a real office. Just a small room with a table and some chairs. Sarah got her house. Emily and Jake got their yard. I felt good about it, like I'd done something important, helped my daughter achieve the American dream. That was 3 years ago. There were red flags. I see that now. Sarah's credit was bad for a reason. She'd had trouble with money before. Credit cards maxed out, a car repossession when she was 30. She'd borrowed money from me repeatedly and never paid it back. And her job situation was never stable. Always moving from one company to another. Sometimes she'd get laid off. Sometimes she'd quit because of stress. but she was my daughter. You don't give up on family. That's what I believed. Family first, always. My neighbor Margaret knocked on my door around 11 that morning, Tuesday, the day the letter came. Margaret Chen, 72, lives next door. She's been my neighbor for 15 years. Her husband died 10 years ago, lung cancer. She's a retired librarian. We have coffee together most mornings. She's president of the garden club. Keeps an eye on everyone on the street. Sometimes too much of an eye. She means well, but she's blunt. Doesn't sugarcoat things. I opened the door. She was holding a casserole dish, covered with foil. Linda, dear, I noticed your blinds were still closed at 9. That's not like you. Are you feeling all right? I'm fine, Margaret, just a rough morning. She looked at me. Really looked at me. Margaret has a way of seeing through people. You're not fine. What happened? I let her in. We sat at the kitchen table. The letter was still there. I'd been staring at it for hours. Margaret read it. Her expression changed, from concern to angry. That girl, she said, she did this to you. It's complicated, Margaret. It's not complicated. She defaulted on her mortgage, and now they're coming after you. Because you co-signed. She's struggling. Single mom. 2 kids. It's hard. Margaret set the letter down, looked at me hard. Linda, you're too good. You've been bailing her out for years. I've watched it. The money, the help. When does it stop? She's my daughter. And you're a person with your own life, your own security. This house is yours. You worked 32 years for this house. You can't lose it because Sarah can't manage her finances. I didn't say anything. Margaret was right, but saying it out loud felt like betrayal. Margaret stood up, opened my refrigerator, put the casserole inside. Tuna casserole, heated at 350 for 30 minutes. You need to eat, and you need to call a lawyer. She left, but not before watering my tomato plants on the counter. I'd forgotten to water them for 3 days. They were wilting. After she left, I walked through my house, really looked at it. The living room where Jack and I watch TV every night. The couch we bought in 2010. Still good. The bookshelf full of books I'd collected over the years. Teaching books, novels, Jack's woodworking magazines, Sarah's old bedroom. I kept it the same. Yellow walls. She picked that color when she was 12. Stuffed animals still on the shelf. Her high school yearbooks in the closet. The kitchen where I made breakfast every morning. Where Jack and I had coffee before work. Where I signed those co-signing papers 3 years ago. The backyard, my garden, tomatoes, peppers, herbs. I planted that garden after Jack died. Something to keep my hands busy, my mind occupied. This house was my life, my memories, my security. And now it was at risk, because I couldn't say no to my daughter. I sat down in the living room, on the couch. The house was quiet, just the clock ticking, the refrigerator humming. I thought about calling Sarah again, demanding answers, but I already knew what she'd say. Excuses, promises, gaslighting. You're overreacting, Mom. I'll take care of it. Don't you trust me? I trusted her. That was the problem. I looked at my phone. At the lawyer's business card Margaret had left on the table. She must have slipped it there before she left. Elder law attorney, Susan Park. I wasn't ready to call a lawyer, not yet. Lawyers meant this was serious, real. A problem that couldn't be fixed with a conversation. But the letter in my hand said it already was serious. $7,500. 5 missed payments. 30 days to cure default. Foreclosure proceedings. I set the card on the coffee table, next to the remote control, next to the photo of Jack and me on our wedding day, 1983, 42 years ago. He was smiling. I was smiling. We had no idea what was coming. The good, the bad, the loss. I picked up my phone one more time, called Sarah again. Voicemail. Sarah, it's Mom again. I really need you to call me, today. It's about your mortgage. The bank called me. Please, call me back. I hung up, set the phone down, looked around my living room, my house, my life, my security, all of it at risk because I loved my daughter too much to say no. Sarah finally called me back that evening. Around 6, I'd spent the whole day at my kitchen table, the letter in front of me, my laptop open, something I rarely used, but I needed to understand what was happening. "Mom, sorry I missed your calls. Busy day. What's going on?" I took a breath, tried to keep my voice steady. "Sarah, I got a letter from the bank about your mortgage. They say you're 5 months behind." Silence on the other end. Then, "It's handled, Mom." "Handled? They sent me a notice of default. They're saying I'm responsible." "They're wrong. I'm working with them. It's fine." "Sarah, they said foreclosure. They said they can take my house." Her voice changed, defensive. "You're overreacting. I told you I'm handling it. Don't you trust me?" I felt something twist in my chest. That question, "Don't you trust me?" She always did this. Turned it around, made me the problem. "I trust you, but the bank is saying..." "The bank doesn't know what they're talking about. I'll call them tomorrow. Fix this. Don't worry about it." She hung up before I could respond. I sat there, phone in my hand. That conversation felt wrong. Too quick, too defensive. No explanation, just dismissal. Margaret came by the next morning, Wednesday, with coffee from the corner Starbucks. She knows I like vanilla lattes. We sat on my back patio. The morning was cool. March weather. My garden still mostly dormant, just some early crocuses coming up. "Did you call Sarah?" Margaret asked. "She said it's handled, not to worry." Margaret made a sound, not quite a laugh, not quite a scoff. "Linda, I saw her last week at the country club." I looked at her. The country club? She was having lunch in the dining room with some friends. I was there for the garden club luncheon. She didn't see me, but I saw her. Maybe someone treated her. Margaret shook her head. She was signing the check. And Linda, that lunch wasn't cheap. The club charges $50 minimum per person. I didn't say anything. Sarah was defaulting on her mortgage. But having $50 lunches? After Margaret left, I did something I never do. I looked at Sarah's social media, Facebook, Instagram. She posted constantly. I rarely checked. But now I scrolled back through March, February, January. Photos of her and the kids at a restaurant, a nice one. Date stamp, February 15th, 2 weeks ago. A vacation photo, beach, somewhere tropical. Emily and Jake in swimsuits. Hashtag, needed this. Date stamp, January. Right in the middle of the default period. A photo of a car. New, or new to her. A nice sedan. Leather interior. Hashtag, upgrade time. Date stamp, December. I sat there staring at my phone. She was defaulting on her mortgage for 5 months, but she was taking vacations, buying cars, having expensive lunches. It didn't add up. I went to my filing cabinet in the spare bedroom, the room that used to be Sarah's. I kept all my important documents there, birth certificates, Jack's death certificate, the deed to my house. I found the folder, co-signing documents. I'd put them away 3 years ago and never looked at them again. I brought the folder back to the kitchen table, opened it, started reading. The mortgage agreement, $285,000, 30-year term, primary borrower, Sarah Morrison Collins, co-signer, Linda Morrison. I kept reading, all the legal language I didn't understand back then, didn't really understand now, but I read it anyway. Then I saw it. Page 7. A section labeled Collateral and Security Interest. In the event of default by the primary borrower, lender may pursue collection from co-signer's assets, including but not limited to real property owned by co-signer. Co-signer's primary residence at 1834 Maple Street may be subject to foreclosure proceedings to satisfy outstanding debt. I read it 3 times. They could take my house, not just could. They listed my house, specifically, by address, as collateral. My hands were shaking again, just like when I opened the letter. I called the bank. Got Michael again, the same representative from yesterday. Ms. Morrison, I have your file pulled up. Have you spoken with the primary borrower? Yes, she said she's handling it. Ma'am, I need to be clear with you. The account is now 5 months in default, not 3, 5. The total amount owed is $7,500 to bring the account current. If payment isn't received within 30 days from the notice date, we will proceed with foreclosure. Foreclosure on her house? Foreclosure proceedings will begin with the primary borrower's property. However, due to the collateral agreement, we can also pursue the co-signer's assets, including foreclosure on your property at 1834 Maple Street. But that's my house. I've paid it off. It's mine. I understand, ma'am, but when you co-signed, you agreed to secure the debt with your property. The agreement is legal and binding. I heard a car door slam outside. Through my kitchen window, I saw Sarah's car in my driveway. I have to go, I said, hung up quickly. I shoved the papers back in the folder, closed it, set my laptop screen down. Sarah knocked, then used her key. She still had a key to my house. I'd given it to her years ago for emergencies. Mom, you home? I stood up, walked to the living room, tried to look normal, not like I'd just been investigating her. Sarah, hi, what are you doing here? I was in the neighborhood, thought I'd stop by, see how you're doing. She looked at the kitchen table, my laptop, the folder. What are you working on? Just bills, organizing things. She walked closer, picked up the folder, before I could stop her. What's this? Sarah, that's private. She opened it, saw the co-signing documents. Her face changed. You're looking into the mortgage? The bank called me. I needed to understand what's happening. I told you I'm handling it. Her voice was sharp now. Why are you checking up on me like I'm some kind of criminal? Sarah, they said 5 months, not 3. 5 months you haven't paid. It's complicated, Mom. You don't understand how mortgages work. Sometimes you skip payments to renegotiate terms. It's strategic. That didn't sound right, but I didn't know enough to argue. They said they can take my house. They're not going to take your house. That's just scare tactics. Banks do that. I'm working with them. I have it under control. She set the folder down, looked at me. Her expression softened. Mom, I know you're worried, but this is my problem, not yours. Let me handle it, okay? I wanted to believe her. I always wanted to believe her. Okay, I said. She left 20 minutes later, after telling me about Jake's basketball game, Emily's college classes, normal things, like nothing was wrong. After she drove away, I went back to the kitchen table, opened the folder again. At the bottom of the stack, there was another document. I hadn't seen it before, or maybe I had 3 years ago and forgotten. Power of Attorney Authorization Form. It was blank, not filled out, not signed, but it was there, in the folder, with the co-signing documents. My name was typed at the top, Linda Morrison, Principal, Sarah Morrison Collins, Agent. If I sign this, Sarah would have power of attorney over my finances, my property, everything. I stared at it. Why was this in the co-signing folder? Had the lawyer given it to us? Had Sarah put it there? I took a photo of it with my phone, then put the folder away, back in the filing cabinet. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, the house dark and quiet, thinking about everything. The vacation photos, the new car, the country club lunch, 5 months of missed payments, the collateral clause, my house listed as security, the power of attorney form. Sarah said she was handling it, but everything I'd seen today said she wasn't. Everything said she was spending money while defaulting, while putting my house at risk. I picked up my phone, 3 a.m., but I couldn't wait. I pulled up the photo I'd taken. The power of attorney form, stared at it in the dark. If I'd signed this, Sarah would control everything, my bank accounts, my house, my life. I thought about Margaret's words. When does it stop? I thought about the lawyer's warning 3 years ago. Your assets can be at risk. I thought about Sarah's face today, when she saw me looking into the mortgage, defensive, almost angry, like I was the problem, not her. I set my phone down, stared at the ceiling. The house was so quiet I could hear the clock ticking in the living room. Tomorrow I would call that lawyer, the one Margaret had left the card for, Susan Park, elder law attorney. Because this wasn't about trust anymore. This was about survival. My house, my security, my independence. And I wasn't going to lose it because I was too afraid to ask the hard questions. Thursday morning I called Susan Park, the elder law attorney. Her office was in a building downtown, professional, quiet. I'd never been to a lawyer's office before, not for myself. The waiting room had magazines. AARP, Better Homes and Gardens, a water cooler, paper cups. I sat with my hands folded in my lap, white-knuckled. Susan came out to greet me. 58, I'd guess. Professional suit, kind eyes. She shook my hand, led me back to her office. Ms. Morrison, tell me what's happening. I told her everything. The co-signing, the letter, Sarah's default, the phone calls, the collateral clause. Susan listened, took notes, didn't interrupt. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. First thing we need to do is pull your credit report, see what's actually on there. Then we'll review the co-signing documents in detail. Do you have them with you? I did. I'd brought the folder. She opened her computer, pulled up a credit reporting website. I'll need your social security number. I gave it to her, watched her type. The screen loaded. Then I saw it. My credit report, right there on her screen. And under Open Accounts, there it was, a mortgage, $285,000. Status, delinquent. 153 days past due, 5 months. Exactly what the bank had said. But seeing it there, on my credit report, my name attached to it, that made it real in a way the letter hadn't. Susan scrolled down. Your credit score has dropped significantly, from 720 to 590, because of this delinquency. 590. That wasn't good. I knew that much. What does that mean? It means if you tried to get a loan right now, you'd be denied or charged extremely high interest rates. This default is destroying your credit. I felt something cold in my chest, like ice spreading. She kept scrolling. And here, look, the account lists you as equally liable, joint and several liability, which means the lender can pursue you for the full amount, not just half, all of it. I stared at the screen. My name, Sarah's debt, 5 months of missed payments, my credit score plummeting. I sat there. The office was quiet, just the sound of the computer humming, Susan's keyboard clicking. I thought about all those years, teaching second graders, saving every penny I could, building my retirement, paying off my house, being responsible, doing everything right. And now, because I'd signed one piece of paper 3 years ago, because I'd said yes to my daughter, my credit was ruined, my house was at risk, everything I'd built was falling apart. I sat there looking at those numbers, 5 months. She'd been lying to my face for 5 months. Every time I'd called, every time she'd said it was handled, she'd been lying, and I'd believed every word because she was my daughter, and I wanted to believe her. Susan printed the credit report, handed it to me. Now let's look at the co-signing agreement. She read through it, page by page. Took about 20 minutes. I sat there, waiting. Finally, she looked up. This is worse than you thought, Linda. May I call you Linda? I nodded. The collateral clause, page 7. It specifically lists your home address as security for this loan. That's unusual. Most co-signing agreements don't name specific property, but this one does, which means if Sarah defaults, the lender has explicit legal right to foreclose on your house before they even touch hers. Before? Yes. Joint and several liability combined with this collateral clause means they can choose which asset to pursue first, and they'll choose the one with the most equity. Your house is paid off, hers is underwater. They'll come after you first. The room felt smaller. like the walls were closing in. What do I do? Susan opened a file, started making notes. We need to document everything, every conversation, every payment you've made on her behalf over the years, every time she's defaulted on something. We're building a case, and we need to move fast. You have 30 days from the notice date. After that, foreclosure proceedings begin. She looked at me directly. Linda, you need to understand something. This isn't fixable with a conversation. Sarah isn't going to suddenly start paying. You need legal protection. Now. I nodded, my throat tight. That afternoon, I went home, sat at my kitchen table, started documenting. Like Susan said, I pulled my bank statements, going back years, every transfer to Sarah, every check I'd written, every Venmo payment. I made a list, with dates and amounts. Then my granddaughter, Emily, called. Sarah's daughter, 19. She'd always been close to me. Grandma, can I come over? I need to talk to you about something. She sounded scared. She arrived 30 minutes later, parked her old Honda in my driveway, came in looking nervous. We sat in the living room. I made tea. Something to do with my hands. What's wrong, sweetheart? Emily looked at her phone, then at me. I need to show you something, but you can't tell Mom I showed you. She'll kill me. She opened her phone, pulled up text messages, a conversation between Sarah and someone named Jennifer, Sarah's friend. Emily turned the phone toward me. I read the messages, dated 3 months ago, January. Sarah, I'm 3 months behind on the mortgage. Mom doesn't know yet. Jennifer, what are you going to do? Sarah, I'll figure something out. Worst case, I sell Mom's house, pay off my mortgage. She can move into assisted living or something. She doesn't need that big place anyway. Jennifer, you can't be serious. Sarah, why not? She co-signed. It's basically her responsibility too, and she's got all that equity. $300,000 at least. That'll cover my mortgage and then some. Jennifer, that's her house, Sarah. Sarah, she'll never know until it's too late. By the time the bank contacts her, I'll have it sorted out. I read it twice, then a third time. Emily was crying. Quiet tears. I'm sorry, Grandma. I should have told you sooner, but she's my mom, and I didn't know what to do. I pulled Emily into a hug. She was shaking. It's okay. You told me now. That's what matters. After Emily left, I sat on my couch, the phone in my hand, that text message. She'd planned this 3 months ago, maybe longer, planned to let her mortgage default, planned to force the sale of my house, planned to move me into assisted living, planned it all, while smiling to my face, while telling me not to worry, while calling me paranoid for checking up on her. I called Tom, my financial advisor. I'd worked with him for 12 years, since Jack died. He'd helped me manage Jack's life insurance money, my retirement accounts. He knew my finances better than anyone. Linda, good to hear from you. What can I do for you? Tom, I need your help. I co-signed a mortgage for my daughter 3 years ago. She's defaulting. The bank says they can take my house. I need to understand what I'm looking at. Send me the documents. I'll review them and call you back. I scanned everything, emailed it to him. 30 minutes later, he called. Linda, sit down. This is serious. I was already sitting, but I gripped the arm of my chair. Your daughter's mortgage is $285,000. Her house is currently worth about $260,000, so she's underwater by $25,000. Your house is worth approximately $320,000, paid off, no liens. The lender can pursue either property, but they'll pursue yours first, because you have equity. She doesn't. Can they really take my house? Yes. The collateral clause is explicit. If she doesn't cure the default and you don't pay it, they will foreclose on your house. You could lose everything. What should I do? Talk to a lawyer yesterday. This isn't financial advice territory anymore. This is legal. I already saw a lawyer today. She said I need to document everything. Good. Do that. And Linda, I'm sorry, I know Sarah's your daughter, but this is theft. She's stealing from you, using your credit, your equity, your security. That's financial exploitation. After I hung up, I sat in the quiet house, the afternoon light coming through the windows. Financial exploitation. That's what Tom called it. Theft. That's what it was. I pulled up Sarah's credit report, the copy I'd gotten when I co-signed 3 years ago. She'd given permission for me to see it. As part of the application process, I looked through it, page by page, collections, multiple, for credit cards, medical bills, an old car loan, judgments, 2 of them, from creditors she hadn't paid. I'd seen this report 3 years ago, but I'd ignored it. She'd explained it away, the divorce, the hardship, bad luck, but now I saw it differently. This wasn't bad luck. This was a pattern. She borrowed money. She didn't pay it back, over and over. Credit cards, car loans, medical bills, and now, mortgage, with my house as collateral. I spend the next 3 days photographing everything, every document, every bank statement, every text message Emily had sent me, the credit reports, the co-signing agreement. Susan had said to document everything. So I did. I created a folder on my computer, labeled it Mortgage Default Evidence, organized by category, financial, legal, communications, everything. Saturday afternoon, Margaret came over, found me at my kitchen table, surrounded by papers. "Linda, have you eaten today?" I looked at the clock. 3 p.m. I hadn't. She went to my kitchen, made me a sandwich, brought it to the table with a glass of water. "Eat," she said. "Then tell me what you found." I ate. Then I told her. The credit report, the collateral clause, Emily's text messages, Tom's assessment, all of it. Margaret listened, her expression getting harder with each detail. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "That girl is going to take your house, unless you stop her." "I'm trying." "No, you're documenting. That's good, but you need to act. What did Susan say to do next?" "File a legal response to the foreclosure notice, protect my assets, separate my liability from Sarah's." "Then do it, Monday. First thing." Margaret stood up, looked at me hard. "Linda, I've known you 15 years. You're the kindest person I know. But kindness has its limits, and Sarah crossed them a long time ago. You don't owe her your house. You don't owe her your security. You don't owe her anything. Not anymore." After Margaret left, I sat in my garden, the evening cooling down, the sun setting. My tomato plants were doing better. Margaret had been watering them. They had little green shoots now, new growth. I looked at my house. The house Jack and I bought 42 years ago. The house where I raised my kids. The house where I'd planned to grow old, to leave to my children, a legacy. Sarah wanted to take it, sell it, use the money to fix her mistakes. And then what? Move me into some facility? Take away my independence? My home? No. Margaret was right. Kindness had its limits. I stood up, brushed the dirt off my hands, went inside. Monday morning, I was calling Susan, filing that legal response, protecting my house. Sarah had made her choices. Now I was making mine. I chose myself. Monday morning, I was back in Susan's office. She had papers ready, legal documents, a retainer agreement. "Linda, here's what we're going to do. We file a legal response to the foreclosure notice. We challenge the collateral clause. We argue that using your home as primary security wasn't properly disclosed, and we force Sarah to take responsibility for her own debt. Can we do that? We can try. The collateral clause is legal, but the way it was positioned in the agreement, buried on page 7, could be argued as predatory, especially targeting a senior citizen. Elder law gives us some leverage." She slid the retainer agreement across the desk. "This will cost money. I need a $5,000 retainer to start. But Linda, if we don't act now, you'll lose a lot more than $5,000. You'll lose your house." I thought about my savings, the money I'd put away for emergencies, for medical bills someday, for leaving something to my kids. This was an emergency. I signed the retainer agreement, wrote a check, $5,000, the most I'd ever paid for anything that wasn't my house or a car. Susan filed the paperwork that afternoon. A legal response to the foreclosure notice, a demand letter to the bank, a notice to Sarah that I was taking legal action to protect my assets. What happens now? I asked. Now we wait. The bank will respond. Sarah will respond. And we prepare for the next phase, which might be mediation or court or settlement negotiations. But Linda, you need to understand something. She looked at me directly, her expression serious. This means you're treating Sarah as an adversary, not as your daughter, not as family, as someone who's threatening your financial security. Can you do that? I thought about it, really thought about it. Sarah, my daughter, the little girl I'd raised, the woman I'd helped through divorce, through single motherhood, through every crisis, but also Sarah, the woman who'd planned to sell my house without telling me, who'd lied for 5 months, who'd put my security at risk. Yes, I said, I can do that. That evening, I sat in my living room, looking at the photos on the wall, Sarah at 5, holding that dandelion, her smile so bright, so innocent. Sarah at 12, school picture, braces, awkward phase, still sweet. Sarah at 18, high school graduation, cap and gown, so proud. I was proud too. Sarah at 23, her wedding day, beautiful dress, happy tears. I'd paid for that wedding, $15,000. I'd thought it was an investment in her future. And then, photos of adult Sarah, 35, at her second wedding, the one that ended in divorce, 40, with Emily and Jake, Christmas photo, everyone smiling, 42, last year, at Jake's birthday party in my backyard. I stood up, started taking the photos down, the ones of adult Sarah, not the childhood ones, those I kept. Those were memories of who she was, who I thought she'd become. But the adult photos, those came down. I put them in a box, taped it shut, put it in the closet. It felt like mourning, like grief, but also like clarity. I wasn't erasing my daughter. I was acknowledging reality, the Sarah in those childhood photos. That wasn't who she was anymore. Maybe she never had been. Maybe I just wanted to believe she was. After I finished with the photos, I went to my filing cabinet, pulled out my property deed, the deed to my house, my name on it. Linda Morrison, sole owner, purchased 1993, mortgage satisfied 2015. I'd worked 32 years to own this house, free and clear. This piece of paper represented everything, my security, my independence, my legacy. I sat at my kitchen table, the deed in front of me, the same table where I'd signed those co-signing papers. But this time, I wasn't signing anything. This time, I was protecting what was mine. My phone rang. David, my son. He lives 3 hours away, engineer, married, 2 kids. We talk every Sunday evening, but this was Monday. Mom, I heard. Emily called me about Sarah and the mortgage. David, I'm handling it. I know you are. But Mom, I need to say something. I've been watching this for years. Sarah taking advantage. You bailing her out over and over. I didn't say anything because you're an adult. You make your own choices. But this is too much. I know. Good. Because Mom, you need to fight this. Not for Sarah's sake, not to teach her a lesson, but for you. That house is yours, your security. You can't lose it. Do you understand? I do. I'm here if you need help, money, a place to stay, anything. But Mom, please, don't let her take your house. After I hung up, I thought about something I'd read once, about teaching. You can't make someone learn. You can give them every tool, every opportunity, every chance. But in the end, they have to choose to learn. They have to want to change. I'd been trying to teach Sarah responsibility for 42 years. I'd thought that if I just helped enough, gave enough, sacrificed enough, She'd eventually figure it out, but she hadn't, and she wasn't going to. Because I'd been teaching her the wrong lesson. I'd been teaching her that I would always bail her out, always say yes, always sacrifice myself for her needs. I'd taught her she didn't have to be responsible because I'd be responsible for her. And now, at 68 years old, I was learning my own lesson about boundaries, about self-preservation, about saying no. I went outside to my garden. The evening was cool. April coming. The days getting longer. My tomato plants were growing. Little green leaves. New life. I'd almost lost them, but Margaret had stepped in, watered them, kept them alive. I sat on my back patio, a little metal chair I'd had for years, looking at my yard. The fence Jack and I had painted 20 years ago, still standing, a little weathered, but solid. The rose bush I'd planted when Sarah was born, 42 years old, still blooming every spring. This house, this yard, this garden, this was mine. I'd built this life, tended it, cared for it, and I wasn't giving it up. I sat in the garden, looking at the house I'd lived in for 32 years, the house where I'd raised my kids, buried my husband, built my retirement. I could fight for it, or I could let her take this too, stand by while she sold it, moved me somewhere I didn't choose, took away my independence, my security, my home. That's when I knew what I had to do. I chose myself. I went back inside, called Susan. Susan, I want to move forward, whatever it takes, legal action, separation of liability, protecting my assets, all of it. Are you sure? I'm sure. This is my house, my life, and I'm not losing it. Okay, I'll prepare the paperwork. We'll need to serve Sarah with notice. She'll know you're taking legal action. That's fine. After I hung up, I sent Sarah a text. Short, simple, clear. Sarah, I've hired a lawyer to protect my house. We need to talk, with attorneys present. I'll have mine contact you to schedule mediation. I didn't wait for a response. I turned my phone face down on the table. The next morning, I woke up at 6, like always, made my coffee, sat at my kitchen window, but something was different. The anxiety that had been sitting on my chest for 2 weeks, that weight, it was lighter, not gone, but lighter, because I'd made a choice. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was someone taking action, protecting myself, setting boundaries. I looked at the empty wall where Sarah's adult photos used to hang. The childhood photos were still there. Sarah at 5, at 8, at 12. I could love who she'd been, mourn who I'd hoped she'd become, and still protect myself from who she actually was. All 3 of those things could be true at the same time. Margaret knocked on my door at 7, with coffee. She knew. You did it, she said. Not a question, a statement. I did it. She smiled, set the coffee on my table, sat down across from me. How do you feel? Scared, sad, but also relieved, like I can breathe again. That's called having boundaries. Feels good, doesn't it? I laughed, for the first time in weeks. Really laughed. Yeah, it does. The next 6 months were a blur of paperwork. Susan filed our legal response in April. The bank acknowledged receipt. Sarah's attorney responded with a counter motion. We filed a rebuttal, discovery began, depositions were scheduled, conference calls with Susan every other week. Documents. Always more documents. The legal system moves slowly, deliberately. Every step has a timeline. 30 days to respond, 14 days to file additional evidence, 60 days for discovery. It felt like moving through mud, but we were moving. May. Susan received Sarah's full financial records through discovery, credit card statements, bank accounts. The spending was worse than I'd thought. Restaurants, shopping, a weekend trip to Vegas in March, right after she'd stopped paying her mortgage. June. Depositions. I had to sit in a conference room, answer questions from Sarah's attorney, under oath, about the co-signing, about my relationship with Sarah, about whether I'd coerced her into accepting my help. Coerced. That's what her attorney claimed. that I'd pushed Sarah into letting me co-sign, that I'd been controlling, overbearing, that this was my fault, not hers. I sat there, answered every question, calmly, truthfully. Did you offer to co-sign, or did Sarah ask you? Sarah asked. Did you pressure her to accept your help? No, she needed a co-signer to qualify for the mortgage. Have you given Sarah money before? Yes, many times. Would you say you have a pattern of trying to control Sarah's finances? Susan interrupted. Objection mischaracterizes the testimony. But the question hung there, in that sterile conference room, with the court reporter typing, Sarah's attorney watching me. Was I controlling, or was I helping? I didn't know anymore. July. The bank sent another notice. The foreclosure proceedings were paused pending legal resolution, but if we didn't reach settlement by September, they'd resume. With both properties at risk, my house, Sarah's house, both on the table, August, Sarah called me. First time in months, since I'd hired Susan. Mom, we need to talk. Through attorneys, Sarah. That's what Susan advised. Mom, please, just hear me out. Can I come over? Just us. No lawyers. I hesitated, but she was still my daughter. Fine, tomorrow, 2 p.m. She arrived on time, sat at my kitchen table, the same table where all of this started. She looked tired, thinner, dark circles under her eyes. Mom, I have a solution, a compromise. You sell your house. Move in with me. I have that spare bedroom. You can help with Emily and Jake, be close to your grandkids, and we use the money from your house to pay off my mortgage. Everyone wins. I stared at her. Everyone wins? Yes. You get to be with family. I keep my house. The kids have stability. We solve this together. Sarah, that's not a compromise. That's you taking my house. Mom, that's not fair. I'm offering you a place to live. In your spare bedroom, in a house I'd be paying for, while giving up my independence, my home, everything I've built. You're being dramatic. You don't need that big house. It's too much for you anyway. And Mom, you're 68. How much longer can you really live alone? Something cold settled in my chest. I'm 68, not dead, not incompetent. I can live alone as long as I choose. I'm just saying it makes sense, financially, practically, family-wise. I stood up. Sarah, the answer is no. I'm not selling my house. I'm not moving into your spare bedroom, and I'm not giving up my independence so you can avoid responsibility for your own debt. Mom, this conversation is over. Please leave. She left, angry, slammed the car door, drove away too fast. Margaret was at my door 5 minutes later. She'd watched from her kitchen window. She tried to get you to sell, Margaret said. She called it a compromise. That's not compromise, that's surrender. I made tea. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Sarah had just sat. Margaret, am I being selfish? What? Sarah said I'm being dramatic, that I don't need this big house, that I should be helping her. And part of me wonders if she's right, if I'm holding on to this house out of pride or stubbornness. Margaret set her teacup down, hard. It made a clinking sound against the saucer. Linda Morrison, listen to me. This house is yours. You earned it. You paid for it. It's your security, your independence. You have every right to keep it. That's not selfish. That's self-preservation, and anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to manipulate you. I felt tears starting, blinked them back. I just keep thinking, what kind of mother am I? Fighting my own daughter in court, refusing to help her when she's struggling. You're the kind of mother who finally learned to set boundaries. That's what kind you are. The next week, Sarah's ex-husband called. Richard, Emily and Jake's father. I hadn't spoken to him in years, not since the divorce. Linda, Emily told me what's happening with the house, the mortgage. I want to help. Richard? Look, I know Sarah and I didn't end well, but she's still the mother of my kids, and you've always been good to Emily and Jake. I have some money saved. I can help Sarah catch up on the mortgage payments. Get this resolved. Hope fluttered. Small, cautious. That's generous of you. It's the right thing to do. Let me talk to the bank. See what we can work out. For 3 days, I felt lighter. Maybe this was the solution. Maybe Richard would help Sarah. The foreclosure would stop. My house would be safe. Sarah would learn her lesson. We could move forward. Then Richard called back. Linda, I'm sorry. I talked to my financial advisor and my wife. I can't do it. I have 2 kids with my current wife. College savings, retirement. I can't risk that much money on Sarah's mortgage. I'm sorry. I thought I could help, but I can't. The hope died. Quick and painful. I understand, I said. Thank you for trying. After I hung up, I sat in my living room, staring at nothing. For a moment, I'd thought it was over, that someone else would fix this, that I wouldn't have to fight anymore. But no one was going to fix this, except me. Susan called that afternoon. Linda, Sarah's attorney just filed something new, a motion claiming elder abuse. She's saying you coerced her into the mortgage arrangement, that you've been financially controlling her for years, that this legal action is harassment. What? It's a tactic. They're trying to flip the narrative, make you the bad guy. But Linda, we have evidence. The text messages Emily provided, Sarah's spending records, her history of defaults. We'll counter this. But I need you to prepare for mediation. It's scheduled for September 15th, 3 weeks from now. Mediation? Yes. The bank is requiring it before they'll proceed with foreclosure. We'll sit down, you, me, Sarah, her attorney, a mediator, and we'll try to reach settlement. What if we don't reach settlement? Then it goes to court, which could take another year and cost significantly more money. After I hung up, I felt exhausted. Bone-deep tired. That night, I couldn't sleep. I got up at 3 a.m., went to my kitchen, made tea, sat with my yellow legal pad, the one I'd been using for notes, for tracking everything, pages and pages of notes, dates, amounts, conversations, legal terms I'd had to learn, collateral, foreclosure, discovery, deposition, mediation. My hand was shaking. Not from the tea, from stress. I set the cup down, pressed my hand flat on the table, willed it to steady. The next morning, Margaret found me in my garden. I'd gone out at 6, started pulling weeds. The garden had been neglected for months. Dandelions everywhere, crabgrass, bindweed. Linda, you okay? I'm fine. You're pulling weeds at 6 in the morning. That's not fine. I sat back on my heels, looked at the mess around me. Weeds everywhere, choking out the good plants. I can't do this anymore, Margaret. I'm exhausted. The legal stuff, the fighting, Sarah's accusations. I just want it to be over. Margaret knelt down next to me, her knees cracking. Both of us too old to be sitting in the dirt like this. When this is done, you'll fix this garden. You'll plant new things. It'll grow back. But right now, you have to finish the fight. I don't know if I can. You can, because the alternative is losing your house, and you're not going to do that. 2 days later, I was in the hospital, emergency room, chest pains. My blood pressure was 190/110. Dangerous. They kept me overnight. Observation, tests. Everything came back normal. No heart attack, just stress. The doctor was young, probably 40. Kind eyes. Ms. Morrison, your heart is fine, but your blood pressure is not. You're under significant stress. What's going on? I told him. The abbreviated version, the mortgage, the lawsuit, the fight. He nodded, wrote something on his chart. I'm prescribing blood pressure medication, but medication won't fix the underlying issue. You need to resolve whatever's causing this stress, or it will kill you. Do you understand? I understood. Margaret stayed with me that night, in the hospital, slept in the chair next to my bed, brought me coffee in the morning. That's it, she said. I'm calling Susan. We're ending this. Mediation is in 2 weeks. We're settling this before it kills you. Book club met that Thursday at Margaret's house. I hadn't been in months, too stressed, too preoccupied. But Margaret insisted, "You're coming, no arguments. 6 women, all over 65. We'd been meeting for 8 years, reading mysteries mostly. Ruth, Carol, Janet, Diane, Susan. Not my lawyer, Susan. Different Susan. They all knew what was happening. Small town. Word travels. We sat in Margaret's living room, tea and cookies. The book we were supposed to discuss sat untouched. "Linda, tell us what you need," Ruth said. "I don't know what I need." "Do you need money for legal fees?" "No, I'm okay with money. I just need this to be over." Carol, who's 72 and sharp as ever, leaned forward. "Linda, my daughter tried something similar, not co-signing. But she wanted me to sell my condo, move in with her, help with her kids, be her free nanny. I said no. She didn't speak to me for 2 years. What happened? She got over it, figured out her own childcare, and we have a relationship now, a better one. Because I have boundaries, and she respects them." Janet spoke up. "I've seen this before too. Adult children who think their parents owe them everything. Houses, money, free babysitting, retirement funds, and we give it because we love them. But love doesn't mean sacrifice. Love can also mean boundaries." The room was quiet. Then Diane, 70, retired accountant. "You're not alone, Linda. This happens more than people talk about. Elder financial abuse by family members. It's common, and it's wrong. You're doing the right thing, fighting back." I felt something loosen in my chest. Tears started. I couldn't stop them. These women, my book club, my friends, they understood. "Thank you," I whispered. We didn't discuss the book. We talked about our children, our boundaries, our struggles, our victories. When I left Margaret's house that evening, I felt stronger, not alone, supported. The mediation was in 11 days, September 15th, a Friday. Susan called with final preparations. "Linda, we have a strong case. The evidence is clear. Sarah defaulted. Sarah spent recklessly. Sarah planned to sell your house without your knowledge. We'll present all of it. The mediator will see it. Sarah will have to face it, and we'll push for settlement terms that protect you." "What kind of settlement?" "Ideally, Sarah refinances the mortgage, gets you off the loan, releases you from all liability. You keep your house. She keeps hers if she can manage the payments alone, or she sells and moves, somewhere she can afford." "What if she can't refinance?" "Then she sells. Short sale. The bank accepts less than what's owed. She takes the loss, not you." "And if she refuses?" "Then the foreclosure proceeds, on her house, not yours. We have the collateral clause argument, the elder abuse defense. We'll fight to protect your property first." I hung up, looked at my calendar. September 15th circled in red. 11 days. In 11 days, this would be over, one way or another. I went to my garden. The evening was cooling. September weather, fall coming. The weeds were still there. But I'd made progress, cleared about half the garden bed. The tomatoes were done for the season. But I could plant fall crops, lettuce, spinach, kale, maybe next week, after the mediation, after this was over. I'd replant, start fresh, grow something new. But first, I had to finish this fight. September 15th arrived. Susan picked me up at 8:30. The mediation was scheduled for 10, downtown, in a conference room at a neutral law office. I wore my navy blue dress, the one I'd worn to Jack's funeral, professional, serious. Susan had her briefcase, documents organized, everything we needed. "You ready?" she asked. "As ready as I'll be." The building was modern, glass and steel. We took the elevator to the 4th floor. A receptionist led us to a conference room, medium-sized, a long table, chairs on both sides, windows overlooking the street, professional, impersonal. The mediator was already there, a woman, mid-50s, gray suit, neutral expression. She introduced herself, Patricia Coleman. "Ms. Morrison, please sit. We're waiting for the other parties to arrive." Susan and I sat on one side of the table. Susan opened her briefcase, started laying out documents, organized stacks, bank statements, text messages, the co-signing agreement. My property deed. All of it. Sarah arrived 10 minutes later, with her attorney, a man in his 40s, expensive suit, slick. Sarah didn't look at me, sat on the opposite side of the table, her attorney next to her. The mediator began. We're here to resolve the mortgage default issue. Primary borrower Sarah Morrison Collins, co-signer Linda Morrison. The bank has paused foreclosure pending mediation. Our goal today is settlement. Let's begin with opening statements. Ms. Park, you represent the co-signer? Susan nodded. Yes, thank you, Ms. Coleman. My client Linda Morrison co-signed a mortgage for her daughter 3 years ago. The primary borrower has defaulted for 7 months. My client's home, fully paid, is at risk due to a collateral clause. We're here to separate liability and protect Ms. Morrison's assets. Sarah's attorney spoke. My client is a single mother facing financial hardship. The co-signer has a history of financial control over my client. This legal action constitutes harassment. We're seeking dismissal of the co-signer's claims and a reasonable payment arrangement. The mediator made notes. Let's review the evidence. Ms. Park? Susan slid a folder across the table to the mediator, then another to Sarah's attorney. Bank statements showing 7 months of default, January through July, total amount owed $12,300. The mediator opened the folder, started reading. Susan continued. Credit card statements showing the primary borrower's spending during the default period. Restaurants, travel, a weekend trip to Las Vegas in March. Sarah's attorney started to object. Susan held up her hand. Digital evidence. Text messages between the primary borrower and a friend, dated January, 3 months into the default. The primary borrower states her plan to sell the co-signer's house, use the proceeds to pay off her own mortgage, move the co-signer into assisted living. The mediator looked up, at Sarah, then back at the documents. Sarah's face was red. Susan pulled out another document. The co-signing agreement, page 7, the collateral clause. It specifically lists the co-signer's property at 1834 Maple Street as security. This clause places my client's home at greater risk than the primary borrower's property. The mediator read it. Her expression didn't change, but she made more notes. Ms. Park, you mentioned witnesses? Yes, 2, both present by phone. Susan opened her laptop, dialed. The conference speaker came on. Tom Brennan, financial advisor. I've worked with Ms. Linda Morrison for 12 years, managing her retirement accounts and assets. The mediator nodded. Mr. Brennan, can you speak to Ms. Morrison's financial situation? Tom's voice came through clearly. Linda Morrison is financially responsible. She has significant equity in her home, approximately $320,000. No debt. Her retirement accounts are stable. She's never defaulted on any obligation. In contrast, the primary borrower's property is underwater, worth $260,000. Mortgage balance $285,000. The lender will pursue Ms. Morrison's assets first because she has equity. Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Any questions? Sarah's attorney had 3. Tom answered all of them, calmly, factually. The second witness, the bank representative, Michael, the one I'd spoken to back in March. Michael Chen, First National Bank, Loss Mitigation Department. The mediator asked him to confirm the account status. The mortgage at 247 Oakmont Drive is 7 months in default. Total owed $12,300. We've sent multiple notices to the primary borrower. No response, no payments. We've paused foreclosure pending this mediation. But if we don't receive payment or reach settlement, we will proceed, with both properties listed as potential recovery assets. Both properties? Yes. The co-signing agreement includes a collateral clause. The co-signer's property at 1834 Maple Street can be pursued. Standard protocol would be to pursue the property with the most equity first. The mediator thanked him, ended the call. She looked at Sarah, then at Sarah's attorney. Do you have evidence to present? Sarah's attorney opened his folder. My client has been in therapy, dealing with financial stress. Depression, she's a single mother. working full-time, supporting 2 children. The co-signer has a pattern of financial involvement that borders on control. This situation is more complex than it appears. He slid some papers across. Therapy invoices, medical records. The mediator glanced at them, then looked at Susan. Ms. Park, response? My client has helped her daughter financially for years, over $300,000 in 17 years. Weddings, divorce lawyers, car payments, and now co-signing a mortgage. That's not control. That's generosity. Generosity that's been exploited. The room was quiet. The mediator made more notes. Then she looked at Sarah and me. I'd like to hear from both of you, directly. Ms. Morrison, Linda, why are you here? I took a breath, looked at the mediator, not at Sarah. I'm here because I need to protect my home. I co-signed to help my daughter. I thought she'd make the payments. She didn't. For 7 months, she lied to me, told me it was handled. It wasn't. And then I found out she'd planned to sell my house, without telling me. I'm 68 years old. That house is my security, my independence. I can't lose it. The mediator nodded. Sarah, why are you here? Sarah's voice was quiet. I'm here because I messed up. I got behind on the mortgage. Things spiraled. I didn't know how to fix it. I thought if I just waited, it would work out. It didn't. Did you plan to sell your mother's house? Sarah hesitated. I was venting to a friend. I didn't mean it literally. Susan interrupted. The text message says, she'll never know until it's too late. I'll sell her house. That's not venting. That's premeditation. Sarah's attorney objected. That's taken out of context. The mediator held up her hand. Let's move to settlement discussion. What are each party's goals? Susan spoke first. My client wants separation of liability. She wants to be removed from the mortgage. She wants her home protected. She's willing to forego any reimbursement for past financial help. She just wants out of this obligation. Sarah's attorney. My client needs time. She's working on refinancing. She needs 90 days, maybe 6 months, to get her credit improved, find a new lender. She'll remove the co-signer once she can qualify a loan. Susan shook her head. 6 months is unacceptable. We've already been in this for 7 months. My client needs resolution now. The mediator looked at the bank representative's notes. The bank is willing to accept refinancing within 90 days, or a short sale of the primary borrower's property. Those are the options. Sarah's attorney. My client can't refinance in 90 days. Her credit is too damaged. The mediator. Then we're looking at sale of property. Which property? Susan. The primary borrower's property, not my client's. Sarah finally spoke, directly to me, for the first time all morning. Mom, please, I'm trying. I know I messed up, but I need time. I looked at her, really looked at her. My daughter, 42 years old, looking desperate, tired. I felt something twist in my chest, that old instinct, to help, to fix, to sacrifice. But then I thought about my house, my independence, my security. I spoke, calmly, clearly. Sarah, I've given you time. I've given you money. I've given you chances. Over and over, for 42 years. And you've learned that I'll always bail you out, always say yes, always sacrifice myself. But not this time. Mom, I'm not finished. You planned to sell my house. You lied to me for 7 months. You spent money on vacations and restaurants while defaulting. You claimed I was controlling, abusive, when all I've done is help you. My voice was steady, not loud, not emotional, just clear. I'm not your bank. I'm not your safety net. I'm your mother. But I'm also a person with my own life, my own security, my own future. And I'm choosing to protect myself. The room was silent. Sarah started crying, quiet tears. I needed the money, okay? The divorce destroyed me. I had nothing. I was drowning. I made bad choices. I know, but I didn't know what else to do. I saw her hands shaking, gripping the edge of the table, and for a moment I felt it. Sympathy. My daughter was struggling, really struggling. But struggling didn't justify theft. Desperation didn't excuse betrayal. I was a single mom too, I said quietly. After your father died, I had 2 kids, bills, debt. I didn't steal from my mother. I figured it out. You need to figure it out too. The mediator stepped in. Let's focus on resolution. The bank requires action within 90 days. The options are 1. The primary borrower refinances and removes the co-signer. 2. The primary borrower sells her property. 3. Foreclosure proceeds on one or both properties. Susan: Option 1 is unrealistic. Option 2 protects my client. Option 3 is unacceptable. Sarah's attorney: My client needs more than 90 days. The mediator: The bank has been clear, 90 days, that's the timeline. They negotiated for another hour. Back and forth, compromise offers, counteroffers. Finally, the mediator proposed terms. Here's the settlement. The primary borrower has 90 days to either refinance the mortgage without the co-signer or sell the property. If neither happens, foreclosure proceeds on the primary borrower's property only. The co-signer's property is protected. A legal release is filed, removing the co-signer's liability. Both parties agree to no further financial entanglement, a mutual restraining order, no financial contact, grandchildren access through supervised arrangements, not at the primary borrower's discretion. Susan looked at me. I nodded. My client accepts. Sarah's attorney looked at Sarah. She was crying harder now, but she nodded. My client accepts. The mediator typed, Printed documents, 3 copies, 1 for each party, 1 for the court. Sign here and here, initial here. We signed. Sarah's hand was shaking so much she could barely write. The mediator stamped the documents. This settlement is binding, effective immediately. Thank you both for coming to resolution. Susan gathered her documents. I stood up. My legs were shaky. Sarah was still sitting, crying into her hands. I wanted to comfort her. That old instinct, but I didn't. I walked out of that conference room, Susan beside me. In the elevator, Susan turned to me. You did what you had to do. Your house is safe. You're protected. You did the right thing. I nodded, but I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired, empty, and relieved, like I'd been holding my breath for months, years, maybe my whole life. When the mediator read the settlement terms, I didn't feel victorious, just tired and relieved, mostly relieved, like I'd been carrying a weight for so long, I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. Susan drove me home. We didn't talk much. When I got home, Margaret was on my porch. She'd been waiting. Well, it's over. She has 90 days to refinance or sell. My house is protected. I'm off the mortgage. Margaret hugged me. Hard, for a long time. You did it. You fought for yourself, and you won. I went inside, sat on my couch, looked at the empty walls where Sarah's photos used to be. It was over, really over. My house was mine, my security intact, my independence protected. But I'd lost my daughter, or maybe I'd never really had her, not the way I thought. I sat there as the afternoon light faded. The house quiet, just me, and that was enough. Sarah sold her house 6 weeks later. October, short sale. The bank accepted $240,000, $25,000 less than she owed. Sarah took the loss, her credit destroyed, but she was released from the mortgage. Emily called to tell me, not Sarah. Grandma, Mom sold the house. We're moving to an apartment across town, 2 bedrooms. How are you doing? I'm okay. I'm staying at the dorms mostly, commuting. But Jake's having a hard time. Smaller school. Doesn't know anyone. I'm sorry, sweetheart. It's not your fault, Grandma. Mom made her choices. 2 weeks after the settlement, the legal release came in the mail. Official. Stamped. County clerk's seal. Co-signer Linda Morrison is hereby released from all liability associated with mortgage account ending in 4782, effective September 15, 2025. I put it in my filing cabinet, right next to the original co-signing agreement, both documents together, beginning and end. My credit report updated in November, the mortgage removed from my account. My score started climbing back. 610. Not great, but improving. Susan sent her final invoice. Total legal fees, $8,300, including the retainer, worth every penny. I wrote the check, mailed it, closed that chapter. The restraining order was mutual, no contact except regarding the grandchildren, supervised visits only, through a third party. Emily was 19, old enough to choose. She chose me. Jake was 16, still under Sarah's roof. I couldn't see him without Sarah's permission. She didn't give it. That hurt, not seeing Jake, but it was Sarah's choice, not mine. Margaret came over the Saturday after the mediation, with her garden gloves, the cat-patterned ones. "Time to fix this garden," she said. We spent the afternoon pulling weeds, clearing beds, preparing for fall planting. Margaret worked next to me, not saying much, just there. "Thank you," I said, after a while. "For everything. The casseroles, the hospital, the truth. I couldn't have done this without you." That's what neighbors are for. But Linda, you did this. You fought. You set boundaries. That was you. We planted lettuce, spinach, kale, fall crops. They'd be ready by Thanksgiving. My tomato plants were done for the season, but next spring I'd plant again. New starts, fresh growth. That evening, I sat on my patio. Sunset. The garden looked better already. Still work to do, but better. Margaret had gone home, the neighborhood quiet, just birds, wind in the trees. I looked at my house. My house. Really mine. Protected. Secure. And I felt it. That weight I'd been carrying for years, decades. It was gone. Emily came by the following Tuesday after her classes. We had lunch at the kitchen table. "Grandma, I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner about the texts, about Mom's plan. Emily, you told me when you were ready. That took courage. I felt like I was betraying her. She's my mom. I know, but sometimes love means telling the truth, even when it's hard." Emily looked at her hands. "Mom's mad at me for helping you. She says I chose you over her." "Did you?" "I chose what was right. There's a difference." I reached across the table, squeezed her hand. "You're a good person, Emily. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for doing the right thing." We talked for 2 hours about school, her job at the bookstore, her plans. She wanted to transfer to a 4-year university, needed help with tuition. "I can help," I said. "Not a lot, but something. Let me talk to Tom, my financial advisor. We'll figure out what I can do." "Grandma, are you sure?" "Yes. But Emily, this is different. This is a gift, with boundaries. I'll help with tuition, but not living expenses, not car payments, not credit cards, just tuition, directly to the school, okay?" She nodded. "Thank you. I'll pay you back." "No, you won't. This is a gift, not a loan, but it comes with a promise. You finish school, you don't drop out, you keep your grades up. Deal?" "Deal." After Emily left, I felt lighter, hopeful. Emily was different from Sarah, responsible, honest. I could help her without enabling her. That was the difference, helping versus enabling. I was finally learning. Susan called 2 weeks later. "Linda, how are you doing?" "Better, settling in." "Good. I wanted to follow up. Make sure you're protected going forward. Have you updated your estate plan?" "Not yet." "You should. Will, trust, power of attorney, medical directives, everything. You need to protect your assets. Make sure this doesn't happen again." She gave me referrals. Estate planning attorney, financial planner who specialized in elder protection. "Linda, what you went through? It's more common than people think. Adult children exploiting elderly parents, financially, emotionally. You were smart to fight back, but prevention is better than defense. Update everything." I made appointments, both referrals, the following week. The estate planning attorney was thorough. We spent 3 hours going through everything. My will. I'd written it years ago. Left everything 50-50 to Sarah and David. But now, I want to change it, I said. The house goes to David and Emily, not Sarah, and I want it in a trust, protected. I can do that. Irrevocable trust. Assets protected from creditors, from lawsuits, from anyone trying to access them. We set it up. The house, my retirement accounts, my savings, all in trust. David as trustee, Emily as beneficiary alongside David. Sarah wasn't mentioned. That hurt to write, but it was necessary. Power of attorney. David, not Sarah. If I became incapacitated, David would make decisions, not Sarah. Medical directives clear, no extraordinary measures. David had copies, Susan had copies, my doctor had copies. Everything documented, legal, protected. It cost $2,000, but it was worth it. Nobody was taking advantage of me again. 3 weeks after the mediation, a letter arrived. Sarah's handwriting. I almost didn't open it, but I did. Mom, I know I messed up. The gambling got worse after the divorce. I never told you that part. I thought I could fix everything before you noticed. The mortgage, the debt, everything. I kept thinking the next bet would make it right. It didn't. It made everything worse. I'm sorry. I'm getting help now. Real help. Gamblers Anonymous, therapy. I'm facing what I did. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. I see what I did now. Sarah. I read it twice. Set it on the table. Gambling. She'd never mentioned gambling, just divorce, job stress, single mom struggles. But gambling. That explained a lot. The spending, the defaults, the desperation. I felt sympathy. Addiction is hard. Recovery is harder. But sympathy didn't mean reconciliation. Understanding didn't mean trust. I didn't respond to the letter. I put it in a drawer with the co-signing documents, the legal release, the settlement agreement, all of it together, the whole story. Margaret asked about it, over coffee. A few days later. Did you write back? No. Are you going to? I thought about it. Really thought. Maybe someday, but not now. She's sorry. Maybe she is. But sorry doesn't mean it won't happen again. The boundaries stay. My home stays mine. Margaret nodded. Good. Book club met that Thursday. We'd moved on to a new book, a cozy mystery. Nothing too heavy. The women asked how I was. I told them. The short version, settlement, house protected, boundaries set. They understood. Several shared their own updates. Carol's daughter was speaking to her again, after 2 years, with boundaries. Janet's son had finally gotten his finances together, without her money. We were all learning, all growing, all setting boundaries with people we loved. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. David called that weekend, Sunday evening, like always. Mom, I got the estate documents. You made me trustee. Yes, I trust you. I'm honored. And Mom, I'm proud of you for fighting, for protecting yourself. Thank you, sweetheart. One more thing. If you ever need anything, money, help, a place to stay, I'm here, okay? I know. But David, I'm okay. Really okay. For the first time in years. After I hung up, I walked through my house. Really looked at it. The living room, clean, organized, photos on the wall, the childhood photos of Sarah, David's family photos, Emily's graduation picture, new frames, the kitchen, my table, clear, no documents, no letters, just a vase with flowers. Margaret had brought them. The spare bedroom, Sarah's old room. I'd started redecorating, new paint, soft gray, my home office now, computer desk, bookshelf, space for me, the backyard, garden recovering, fall crops growing, the fence still standing. Solid. This house was mine. Every room, every memory, every choice. I'd fought for it and won. Not just the legal battle, but the internal one. The one where I learned to choose myself. That night, I made dinner. Real dinner. Not a casserole Margaret brought. Not takeout. Actual cooking, chicken, roasted vegetables, a glass of wine. I ate at my kitchen table, the sunset coming through the window, the house quiet, peaceful. And I thought about everything: the journey, the fight, the loss, the victory. I'd lost my relationship with Sarah, maybe temporarily, maybe permanently, I didn't know. But I'd gained something else: myself, my voice, my boundaries, my strength. At 68 years old, I'd learned the hardest lesson of my life. Love doesn't mean sacrifice. Love can also mean boundaries. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is choose yourself. 6 months later, March again. A year since that first letter arrived. I'm sitting in my garden, Saturday morning, spring. The air is warming, coffee on the patio table, newspaper, my reading glasses. The tomato plants are back. I planted new starts in February. They're growing, little green leaves. I'll have tomatoes by July. The rose bush is blooming, 43 years old, still going. Pink flowers, same as always. My house is behind me. Same house, same kitchen, same rooms, but different now. Mine, really mine. Protected. The legal release is filed. The restraining order is in place. My credit score is back to 680, not perfect, but climbing. Sarah lives across town, 2-bedroom apartment. Emily tells me she's working, doing better, still in therapy, still in Gamblers Anonymous. I hope that's true, for her sake, for Emily's and Jake's sake. But I don't know for sure. We don't talk. The boundaries hold. Emily visits every other week, sometimes more. She's thriving. Dean's List last semester. Planning to transfer to a 4-year university in the fall. I'm helping with tuition, within my boundaries, directly to the school. Jake turned 17 last month. I sent a card to Sarah's address. I don't know if he got it, but I sent it. Some days I miss them. The relationship I thought we had. The family dinners, the holidays together, the normalcy. But that normalcy was built on my inability to say no, on Sarah's expectation that I'd always bail her out, on an imbalance that hurt us both. This new normal is better, quieter, but healthier. Margaret still comes over Tuesday mornings. Coffee on my patio, her cat-patterned garden gloves on the table between us. We plan the garden club meetings, talk about books, gossip about the neighborhood. Yesterday she brought lemon bars, homemade. We ate them while watching the birds at my feeder. "You look good," she said, rested. I feel good. That's what boundaries do. They give you space to breathe. She's right. I can breathe now. For the first time in years. Book club meets Thursday. We're reading another cozy mystery, the Shetland series. We'll meet at the library, discuss the book over tea and cookies. Normal things, peaceful things. These women, my neighbors, my friends, they saw me through the worst, and now they're here for the best. The quiet rebuilding. I started volunteering last month at the senior center, once a month. I talk about elder financial abuse, warning signs, what to watch for, how to protect yourself. I tell my story, the abbreviated version: co-signing, default, exploitation, legal battle, protection. People listen. Some cry, some nod in recognition. 3 people have come up to me after, with their own stories. I gave them Susan's card, connected them with help. If my story helps one person, protects one house, saves one retirement, then maybe it was worth it. My estate is updated. Will, trust, power of attorney, everything. David is trustee. Emily will inherit. Alongside David, my house is in an irrevocable trust, protected from anyone who might try to access it. Sarah isn't mentioned in the will. That still hurts, but it's necessary. I sit here, in my garden, my house behind me, my coffee getting cold, the morning sun warm on my face, and I think about everything I've learned. I learned that helping isn't the same as enabling, that love can include boundaries, that saying no doesn't make you a bad mother, it makes you a person who values herself. I learned that at 68, you can still change, still grow, still find your voice. I learned that independence isn't selfishness, it's survival. Looking back, I see the pattern clearly now. Years of saying yes, of sacrificing, of believing that was what good mothers do. But I was teaching Sarah she didn't have to be responsible because I'd always fix it. I can't fix her now. And I shouldn't. She has to fix herself. All I can do is protect myself, set boundaries, and hope that someday, maybe, we can have a relationship built on respect, not obligation. If there's one thing I'd tell anyone facing this, don't wait. Don't think it'll get better on its own. It won't. Get a lawyer, elder law specialist. Document everything, every text, every promise, every payment. Set boundaries early, before crisis hits, before your house is at risk, before your security crumbles. Your home is your independence. Protect it, even from family, especially from family. I still love my daughter, but I love myself too. It took me 68 years to learn those two things can coexist. I can love her from a distance, hope she gets help, and still protect what's mine. Some days I'm angry. Some days I'm sad. Most days I'm just here, standing in my house, drinking my coffee, tending my garden, planning my future. And that's enough. Maybe you're facing something similar. Maybe you co-signed. Maybe you're being pressured. Maybe you're scared to say no to someone you love. I understand. I was there, terrified, guilty, convinced that setting boundaries made me a terrible person. But here's what I know now. You're not a terrible person for protecting yourself. You're a smart person who values your security, your independence, your future. Have you ever had to choose between family and your own security? How did you handle it? What would you do in my situation? I want to hear your story. Let me know in the comments below. And if you're going through this right now, dealing with financial pressure from family, facing co-signing requests, watching your savings disappear into someone else's crisis, you're not alone. There are resources, elder law attorneys, adult protective services, financial advisors who specialize in elder protection. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm rebuilding. Not the relationship with my daughter. Maybe that never happens. But my life, my independence, my peace. It's not the ending I wanted, but it's the one I earned. The one I fought for. The one I chose. I wake up in my house. The house I protected. The house that's mine. I water my garden, visit with Margaret, read my books, help Emily with college, volunteer at the senior center. Simple things, quiet things, independent things. The house is mine, the life is mine, and nobody's taking that again.